Oh my goodness. Seriously, I have to just do it. It's like I can tell myself I don't have to think about things that don't matter.
I was designed to do those things. How the hell does this guy know this about me?
It's impossible to not see.
When Dan read for my sister, she was like, he's psychic. She's like, how did you know that?
Yes.
She's like, it's human design, guys. Like, it's just a testimony of how legit it is.
Seriously, Danny was like FBI or CIA. He's like, how the hell does this guy know this about me?
Having my chart read, there were just thing after thing after thing that I was just like, wow, that's me.
This man is reading me and I've never met him before.
I was in the midst of one of the biggest emotional waves I've ever been in my life, and he saved my life.
It seems like everybody has the same reaction. It's that aha moment, and they want to find out more. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Human Design Advantage podcast. My name is Jen, and decoding the matrix for us is Danny Guru.
Jennifer, it's wonderful to see you.
Wonderful to see you. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
Yeah, it's Mother's Day. Can't wait to get a hold of my own mom.
Yes, it is. So happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. You guys know the drill. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. Share this out. And we are diving into episode number 49 today, Unveiling the Trans-auric Being and the Power of Family Dynamics.
Mm-hmm. And today is May 14th, 2023. Yep. Can't believe I had to think about that for a second. That's funny.
I know I had to too.
Yep, exactly. So I can't wait. Today's topic is now, I think we've touched upon this before. I know we have. We've said things about it, but today's officially going to be, unveiling what's called the Penta. It's called PENTA, which stands for the number 5. Nothing to do. I wish they'd picked a different name because I think Penta has something to do with some other stuff sometimes or whatever. But
well, it's tied to pentagram, which is the 5-pointed star within the circle, which is a misconception of what that truly means. That is you, because you are the human being is the star.
Right.
We look like a star, and the circle is the circle of the elements, which you hold all in you.
Well, I'm pretty sure part of the pentagram has been hijacked into something that is less than favorable, but regardless, has nothing to do with any of this. This just stands for, what is the number 5? And what happens in groups and families. So as soon as there's a group or a family or a unit of people, it just takes 3 people, starts to create this penta configuration. As soon as it reaches 5, it starts to build a little bit of tension. And then when it gets to 6 and 7, there's always people peeling off. And then there's another penta. And the world has been organized by these things. So a large family will constantly be going through an enormous auric field of this penta. It's an organizing force. And it'll constantly splitting off into, if you got a family of 8, it'll be splitting into 3 and 5 and 4 and 4. And it'll constantly be shifting. Except for those times when the whole family is together in like family photographs or family outings. Even in a family outing, they'll still split up. They will split up. The 2 or 3 will peel off and enter a different penta and then come back. And so it's shifting. Were you about to ask a question?
Well, I was thinking, I don't know what the typical nowadays family unit is, but I know growing up I was a family of 5, so
6 here. Yep, family of 6.
So I'm paying attention. I know it starts at 3, so but bigger families and friends that I knew that had bigger families, yes, that even the group, when it became 7, 8, 9, that's where it started splitting up.
Yep. Yeah.
Go off and do our own thing or whatever.
Right. And there could have been the greatest love in the family and no real animosity. And maybe the family was like the Waltons and everyone was a Walton and a perfect archetype of a wonderful family, but they still peel off. In fact, they demonstrated that even in the Waltons.
Yeah, yes, they did.
Now that I think about it, they totally demonstrated that. So the Penta is organizing humanity. It's been doing it since the beginning. It was totally different as a 7-centered being. I don't even need to go into it. It's not relevant, but it's been organizing us the whole time. And what it is it's literally, it's a trans-auric form. It's
You explain a little bit more on what trans-auric?
yeah. Well, so trans throughout, across several, so it's like transcontinental, whatever, from, and then auric is our aura. So as soon as 3 or more auras are put together, a life form appears above them. When I say above them, around, it's surrounding their aura. As long as they're in that aura to each other, there is a trans-auric, meaning it transcends and transitions out of the human beings that are making the aura, and it turns into a separate life form that is transitory. Because as soon as somebody leaves, it changes. So picture this thing that's always mutating back and forth and switching, sort of like a sci-fi blob character, thing that is always, mutating into something else, And this, it is alive, is the thing. It's alive, but it's got no actual, it doesn't have a soul like you and I have, because it's constantly shifting. But it is alive. It's got a life force of its own. And that is its sole purpose, is to keep us moving in a direction where we're always presenting ourselves. It's about presentation. And so you see it all over the place in a neighborhood. Someone gets a basketball hoop at the end of their driveway. Suddenly, everyone else needs a basketball hoop. That's
or that becomes the house that everyone goes to.
Right, until others start getting it. And we call it keeping up with the Joneses. You know what I mean? That's an old-fashioned term. But who invented keeping up with the Joneses? Why do I care? Why does anyone care? The Penta makes us care. Look at it like this trans-auric form that keeps forming over every little group. And as soon as it forms, it starts running the same program that it runs in your family.
Yeah.
Different participants, so it will change in its flavor and what it's doing, but it's still after the same thing. It's trying to drive a direction that basically displays itself. It's about displaying what you are. And so as soon as someone else has something, the force and the power of the Penta in the family that doesn't have the basketball hoop starts to pressurize, and it starts to make the family members say, how come we don't have one? Now, individually, any child might look at that and be like, hey, I want one of those. But it's not the same thing as that tension that is, how come we don't have that? And then that family starts to be pressurized. It starts to try and drive the material needed in order to purchase the dang basketball hoop at the end of your driveway.
Right.
And it starts driving it. And then the missus is saying, honey, we really should. And then the dad is saying, okay, I know where one is. I'll go to Bob's and pick one up. And the whole family is now operating outside of, we're not in touch with the Penta. We don't have conscious access to it until you know it's there, and you still don't really have conscious access to it. You got to watch it unfold. I know all about the Penta, and I am helpless, but to be stuck back in my original auric role in my family, when I go home, I'm the misfit. I'm the one that whatever. And suddenly I have no choice. I can't, if I step out of it, which I do routinely, I get punished or shunned, or I get looked at weird, or people look at me funny. It creates social mores. It creates, it's an homogenizing force. So here we are. We're supposed to differentiate, right? Jennifer, you're Jennifer. Dan's Dan. Everyone's totally different. And we're so aware of that someone can totally do something rotten to you and you still recognize, oh, that's my feeling about it. Yeah. I'm really pissed, but that's my pissedness. It's not, they didn't actually put that in me. It's in me and it came out. And even though they put it in you, you know what I mean? We recognize our difference from the other. It's still our chemistry doing the thing. Once we get into the Penta, that blurs so quickly that you have to be like a jackrabbit watching it, because it shows up just like the unconscious definition shows up. It keeps showing up, and then you recognize it. And so that's fine, right? It's like being at the ocean. Hey, I want to go surfing. Well, you got to wait for the wave to show up. You recognize it, you run out and you surf it, right? No one complains. Yeah. No one complains about that. That's fine. So this works the same exact way. And look at it like, again, I like using the music in a movie, the film score of a movie. Yeah, it's different. The Penta is different because you can't hear it. But if you're not really listening, the music again falls into the background and it becomes this controlling character. It always is forecasting what's next, and it lets you know who the bad guys and the good guys are just by the tenor of the music and what it sounds like.
It lets you know the theme of what's happening.
What's happening? Oh, time to cry.
Right.
Nope, time to laugh. Whatever, time to feel strong and brave and courageous. Whatever they want you to feel, the music has to be there. The penta doesn't have music, but it does tell you what to feel. And it's up to us as individuals to recognize where that doesn't matter. And the first place the conditioning comes in is in the penta configuration itself. Can you go to the first? I'm not sure which one we have queued up for the first slide. Yeah, perfect. So we're just going to skate past this one pretty quick. This is how we read the penta as it relates to whoever in the family has these gates. Everywhere you see a colored line, this would be a family member's name, and they would have this gate in the penta configuration. And what we're looking for is gaps. We're looking for a gap in this penta configuration. It's inside the body graph. This represents everything moving from the sacral up through the G to the throat. 12 gates, 6 channels. And that is the life form. And they all have their keynotes and their names and what we're trying to do. We may even come back to this one because it's so easy to just read the keynotes from. But if you move to the next slide, this is one we'll come to often because it helps. It's got further keynotes to go ahead. And let's just move past this one. I want people to just look at this because these are the keynotes. These are further keynotes to what each of these gates is doing. It's wicked crowded, but you can see each one of these points at the gates that are in the penta. Scroll to the next one. This you can start to see it in the larger picture, sort of in the center. You can see the sacral, the G center, and the throat, right? And the rest of the body graph isn't even present. This is the penta. When all these gates are filled in, you have a complete penta. When we're missing gates, there's an issue. Something starts to crop up. And this picture is just fascinating because it gives the keynotes, and on the lower left, it shows how to fill in. It shows an empty graph so you can fill in the family members that have the gates. And it shows the various tension points on the left. On the right is this magic key. I love this key. This is the G center. It is the creating, establishing vortex of a sort that is the heart of the penta because everything runs through the G center. And so it gets empowered from below, and then it gets given its direction and its display above. And this is organizing everyone. And if you go to the last picture, we'll stay there for a moment. There you go. Imagine the rest of the body graph around this. I wish I put this inside of a body graph. You can see clearly this is just the sacral, the G center, and the throat. And so there are 12 gates here. Whenever you put a family of 3, 4, and 5 together, quite often, especially if it's only 3 people, almost always you're going to see missing gates. You won't have all 12 of these gates creating a full penta. And what will happen is we'll start to feel a great deal of stress trying to do what the regular individual does when they're missing gates in their body graph. They try and be that gate. If they have a split definition, they try and bridge that split. They think that there's something wrong with them if they don't bridge it. The family does the same thing. And then they start putting all kinds of pressure on us to physically be whatever that missing gate is. And what's important to notice here is that's it, 3 centers. The penta is alive. It's alive all around us as soon as we're 3 to 5 people and more. Yet it's not human. This is not human. There's no brain system. There's no ajna.
It's kind of like you create your own energetic vortex.
Right.
And within that energy, the atoms really are just responding to all of the other atoms.
Period. They really are. And then this energetic movement creates the trans-auric being through the energy of the people that are in it. If the people aren't there, there is no trans-auric, family homogenizing force. Think about what it means to be family homogenizing, kept together.
Yes. Well, I've noticed it through my investigation and in my experiment when like different circumstances here in the house.
Yep.
And when the family is all in one room, sometimes there's either 3 or 4 of us, it will shift. And I've noticed how it happens. And I've asked myself, like, what is that?
Right. Right.
Because depending on what is going on, especially with me, I am I'm the black sheep and everything like that, that I may react a certain way and then I walk away and I'm like, where did that energy come from? So I question it. So I can actually see
Yes, Jennifer.
and understand what's happening, but I didn't know that that's what it was.
Wait till you hear the keynotes on this and the troubleshooting we're able to do, the diagnostics this performs. But just to take it, still stay on the sort of a higher level looking down on all of this, this thing is not human. It's designed to basically encompass the coming rave, the shift that humanity is ultimately evolving into. We can't consciously choose to access and become part of the Penta. You step into the group, you're part of it. You can resist it. You can still be yourself. Totally. Inside of my Penta, everyone wanted me to get a jab.
Yeah.
Sacral saves me. Still, your strategy and authority still is there. It's just you find certain helplessnesses. Jennifer, when it's 3 people, there's always a tension. And we know, and by the way, so we know this, right? We've had this expression, 2's company, 3's a crowd. Right?
Yes.
We've been saying this the whole, so again, how many times have I said we humans, we're so dang smart. We've got such a clue to all of it, but we weren't quite certain. Now we have the knowledge that lets us know, why is 3 a crowd? 3 is attention. And it explains why, if you take all the divorces, you'll see that 50 or more % of them are the result of 3 person families. There's such attention. It's such attention. There's always somebody being left out. There's always some form of attention. And that's the keynote. There's attention when it's 3. It doesn't mean a band of brothers of 3 can't freaking totally overcome that tension and survive the wild elements or do whatever.
Right. But it requires you to really learn how to communicate and work together within that.
Totally. I remember many groups of 3 and they were lots of fun. You know what I'm saying? That tension can be fun. Think about it. You're dating somebody. There's a lot of tension. The tension is part of the allure. So this,
not to everybody.
I don't know if I totally agree with that, because there is always some kind of a tension in the beginning that everyone's a little, they tell their girlfriend, they tell their dude friends.
Yes.
Right? There's something, but you're right. I think what you're pointing out is not always an enjoyable tension.
Yeah. Well, yes,
like.
But moving on.
Sorry, Jen. Had fun with that one. So, this is very much not human. When the rave starts to be born, they will access the Penta consciously. They will choose to become part of a conscious Penta where they are aware. That's how potent this thing is. It's sitting here as this foundation awaiting the evolution of us over the next couple thousand years. And probably we'll start seeing it in our lifetime. That's the whole deal. We will see this in our lifetime, Jennifer. It's going to be exciting, and it's going to be terrifying for many who don't know this is a thing. It's going to seem very odd. We have to get a handle on this to prepare ourselves for what is coming. It's not human. It's got no spleen. It doesn't care about what's safe or not. It doesn't catch a cold, and it needs no immunity. It has no spontaneous splenic awareness. It doesn't penetrate anything. It simply is. It's got no root center. The Penta's not under pressure. You are. The Penta's like, I create whatever you're feeling as pressure. That's me. The Penta says, this trans-auric life form, formless life form. It's got no emotional solar plex center. It doesn't feel. The Penta doesn't feel. The Penta's cold as ice. in certain ways. It's got no head and ajna. It doesn't need to be certain. It's not thinking about anything, and it certainly isn't thinking about things that don't matter. It's not human. It's got no ego. The penta's got nothing to prove, yet that forces the beings inside the penta to prove all kinds of stuff. It's part of its homogenizing force, because we're always trying to demonstrate. That's what this is all about, demonstration. And so clearly, all those centers missing, only 6 channels in total. That's not human, but yet it's part of us. The next thing to notice about this is it's got a flow. It's got a direction. And if you notice between the sacral and the G center, that 15 and that 46 are sort of cut off. They're purposely got that little separation, as the numbers aren't in the G center. Mm-hmm. They're in the G center, but they're not connected in a way, because all they're doing is the penta's force, life force, pours down through the 15 and the 46, and it fuels through the sacral and comes up then through the 14 and the 2 and drives the direction. 14 and 2 drives the direction. You were going to say something?
Yeah, this wouldn't change with the mutation, would it?
Not for us.
Okay.
But
would it add another center or?
Nope. And for the rave children coming in, this is still going to be the same configuration.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was ultimately asking.
Because they have conscious access, I don't know if we would then choose to take that 15 and that 46 out of the G center. Quite possibly, they would just be connected right into the G center. They're displayed this way to show how it does work in the 9-centered humans that we are, whereby 46, this love of being in the world, and 15, this love of the extremes of humanity, are they pressure themselves downward through the 5 and the 29, and they force themselves back up, just like water towers. You put the water tower. Yeah.
Yes.
And they're pushing downward, and then they come up, and then everyone in the town has pressure. In the family, everyone in the family has pressure from the penta to move in a direction. How come we're not moving in the same direction as the Joneses? So every neighborhood is filled with its pentas, and the pentas all coalesce, and they all start to vibrate sort of sameness, a certain amount of homogeneity. And if you walk into a neighborhood and you see everyone's got their house freshly painted, well, the one that doesn't have their house freshly painted, they really stand out. The penta stands them out, not the people. Some of the people might say that it stands out, but it's the penta that makes everyone else think they care about it. And suddenly they start shaming the person. You know, if you're the first one in your human design experiment and you're letting your generator children find their own bedtime when they've run out their energy, the other penta families and the parents are going to be like, gee, Dan, you think that's a good idea? Don't I need a regular bedtime? The school people are going to be homogenized by their pentas that are similar to the pentas in my neighborhood, because we all go to the same school. And the homogeneity just keeps building out from there and building. So you can see how nations become homogenized.
Yeah. And I can also see just here in Houston, when you mentioned the neighborhoods, how it kind of differs from where you are, what location or what area.
Yes.
Because the area that I live in, you know, it's got a lot of older houses. But a lot of people are, you know, save the environment. And so they'll put like environmental friendly plants in their yard, where in the suburbs, the HOA is hounding on your door because you've got weeds growing in front of it. Right. Where it's like, it's people over here will view it as not a weed, and then someone else views it somewhere else. And you just have to drive a couple of miles to experience the difference.
That's exactly right. And it's the same thing. They did this in parts of Harlem and New York City, where they were like, we're going to build these fantastic high rises and give them brand new shiny stuff in hopes to uplift, you know, the community. And then when people got in and they brought their pentas in, they had their homogenous way of being, and all the wall art. You know, I stopped calling it graffiti, because when people go out with their spray cans and they're painting stuff, it's no different than a kid with finger paints or a famous artist on a canvas. You know what I mean? It's art. So all the walls start to grow their art again. And they think
Yeah.
that there was, if we make it shiny and new, they're going to want to move on up, moving on up. And suddenly they're going to take on different characteristics. No, they're not.
That's so interesting because my neighborhood does that too. Like they've given side of buildings to people to come in and just do their art.
Yes, yes. And
Because that's what
Northampton
it
does
is.
it. I love that about things and how that happens. And so anyways, it's all really good stuff. And what it does is it keeps the right amount when we know it's there and we're aware of it. It keeps the right amount of homogeneity such that we don't all turn into killer monkeys so easily. I mean, because we're all interested in demonstrating and displaying ourselves out in the world, ourselves in our home life at home, how we handle our discipline, how our uniqueness shows, how we remember things in our family traditions. All of this stuff, there's homogeneousness going on. So that it helps organize us to where it's not so easy for us to really, it's not easy to just shun your neighbor. There's got to be a lot going on. You know what I mean? And without this organizing over the top, every family would be so incredibly unique, they might all fall apart and a whole neighborhood might not even work very well. Not that neighborhoods are working very well now, but they're still filled with their family pentas. And if the neighborhood looks a certain way, the rest of the neighborhood has to stay looking that certain way. That's the penta at work.
Man, if I lived in a neighborhood where my HOA is like that now, I would love to write back and say I'm not going to be homogenized by your penta.
Right, by your crazy 7-centered homogenous penta ideas. You can go.
They're going to be like, what?
What? We could send it as a letter of conditional acceptance, right?
There you go. Even better. Even better.
I conditionally accept your rules. If you can explain to me why and how in a penta, I'm required to.
Exactly. But you can see through this how they have conditioned the society and, everybody in itself.
Yeah, why do we think the WEF is so eager to create new homogeneous standards so that they ultimately whittle their way into the family pentas and become a new norm of some sort? They're desperately trying to put that stuff into us to hopefully create enough new pentas that in a 7-centered way or through fear adopt their principles, and then others start adopting it. You put a bunch of pentas together and you got what was the mob mentality, the mass psychosis, the mass formation, whereby the people who all got the jab, they now belong to a homogenous set of pentas that all basically thought the same way, and they turned into killer monkeys against us who didn't, right? They almost turned into killer monkeys against us, and in some countries they did.
Yes.
And they did turn into killer monkeys against us. They let people die all over the place.
Well, I mean, even, it's George Soros has done a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, we know he's kissing cousins to the WEF anyways. He's part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all are. So that's what it looks like. It's not human. And when all the gates are filled in, your internal family has its workings and it displays itself. And when gates are missing, there becomes conflict, confusion, strife and finger pointing inside the family. Yet the family still tends to stay together more so than not. They just are very unhappy with their partners and their kids and how it all is going. And they talk to talk doctors and they cry on their friends' shoulders. And when they just need to surrender to, that's just not what it is. I've got no defined ego I have to surrender to. I have nothing to prove. I desperately want to prove things so many times, Jen. You've seen it.
What just came through is this is a great awareness for parents because this is exactly how peer pressure starts.
Oh, God, all over the place. Yeah, my mom and dad said this and our family does this, and boom, the kid brings that nonsense home. And then suddenly they put the family penta at home under pressure.
Yes.
My mom would be like, Ron, Dan needs he needs his new bicycle so that he can get part of this would be driven by the penta, again, it's not the total controller, but it is so substantial that if you don't know it's there, it feels like the total controller or quite, the 80% controller. So if we move back a slide, I'll just recap a couple stop here for a second. You can see it now again, we saw this before, and this cool looking figure on the far right, this demonstrates the vortex that happens inside the G center that is alive. This is the heartbeat. It's alive, and it shows an alpha lock and an alpha key on the top and the bottom. And this is, if you notice, this lock and key mechanism locks itself in, and it's in where you would expect the individual circuitry to be. On the right and the left would be the collective circuitries, and in the middle, it's all about the mutative individual. And read the slide, everyone, so you can start to see these various things that as soon as in your family, a fourth person walked into that room you were referring to, Jennifer, a certain ease came from attention into a more relaxed position. A stability shows up when there's 4.
What does it mean there are people made for a penta or not? A manifester is not made for a penta.
That's not entirely true, but the penta is generated. It's generated. So it's the life force, and it's generated, and the family is there to make more, right? And preserve the more. And that's all sacral business. So that's not, I mean,
one projector. No, yeah.
That's not entirely true. That's a semi rule of thumb that's transparent, and it needs to be corrected in reality, because you absolutely are made for a penta in one respect. What they're referring to is certain people are more made for it than others. And that is really whoever has definition.
Well, I when I was thinking earlier about what you were saying, and I was reflecting back on my childhood. So I was never one that followed the crowd. I actually did the exact opposite, but of course I'm a manifester on that. But what I have noticed was that got me in trouble a lot. It wasn't me that was getting in trouble. It was when I went, other people would follow. And if, then I became the kid whose parents were calling my mom and saying that their kids couldn't hang out with me because I was a bad influence or whatever. Right. It wasn't because I was influencing them to do it, but I was impacting them and pulling the energy that when they did get into a group, because it was a group of girls, you didn't, we were always getting in trouble, but then I was the one that was getting the
blame for it. And so
I initiated it.
What that statement below is really speaking to is, if you have one of these 6 channels, you're a penta being. If you're not a generator and you have you can't have one of the lower 3 channels and not be a generator, because it connects to sacral. Right. But you can have the top 3 channels. Lots of people.
I have 1 in 33.
Yep. So you have gates in the penta, and I forget if you have any on the bottom.
I don't have any on the bottom. I don't have any channels, but I have gate 1.
So you would float in and out and make your contribution and be a slave to the penta. No wonder you were always getting out. You were always leaving that thing. Hey, don't enslave me, man. Me out.
Oh yeah. That's yes.
Now I have a channel in the penta. I have the channel of rhythm 15.5. So I go into a penta and I create a giant assist inside that penta configuration. It doesn't mean I can strategically do a lot with that. I'm sucked into it is what I am. I'm drafted. Hey kid, you're drafted. Got the channel of rhythm that represents the home life inside. You come on in. You're in. And by the way, you're stuck. But any gates in here automatically give you an affinity to it. And if you have it all wide open, which some people would, it just now means you're open to it. So no one's precluded. And it organizes us all. And through this life force, this life that shows up inside this beautiful figure on the right, that shows the vortex coming in through the behavior of the self. And then it shows, the magnetic field and the pattern fixing and all of this stuff that goes on in the other legs of the penta. But right up the center, the individuality is what empowers the penta. As you can see in this picture, because 14 up to 2 is where all the power comes off the sacral. The other gates are not empowering the penta. Only one gate, gate 2, the yinnest of all gates, the receptive, the openness to movement in a direction and the recognition of a direction. If you go back the other way, in the way we're going. Yep. just again, look at this so you can see the keynotes. Now it makes more sense how every gate has got a little 3 keynote dealio. One is religious, usually most. One is just societal, and one is organizational. Each of these keynotes. And if you
Wait.
go ahead.
I won't throw you off.
Well, go ahead and ask a question if you wanted.
Oh no, I was when we're reading these. What does the like religious non-followers and
Well, right, sure. Like 33, I'll take 33. So it's keynoted. So 33 is always the expression and the display of the tradition. And
okay.
13 helps establish the tradition through the keeping of secrets and the listening, the ear, the listener, holding the family secrets, so that you can. And by the way, the family secrets is also the family photo album, and it's the family tradition, all born up from the family information, some of which are secrets.
Yep.
So, but it keeps all the family info, and 33 knows when to sort of display that. So it becomes the tradition. Inside the family, it becomes oversight. Hey, we've got an oversight. All the stuff happened. Someone's got to oversee it, put all the family photo albums this way. And by the way, we've got the oversight of bills and stuff that came in. And we got the oversight of
The organizer, pretty much.
Sort of organizing things. And it's a voice that says, hey, I remember this, I remember that. And remembrance is very much a religious, it's either religious or non-religious followers.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's the gate 33 helps people inside religion follow the traditions the religion set up. And religion is a great homogenizing force. And it's not all bad, and it's not all good, and depending on various aspects of what religion is. So this becomes the traditions of the religion, and we need to follow them. If you don't follow the traditions on your street, the rest of the pentas will start to say something. And if you don't follow the traditions of the religion, you're excommunicated, ultimately. So scoot on over to the next slide. This is, what was that first slide? Because this was the second one. Just see if I need to. Again, yeah, so you can see the main keynotes, the tradition, the past, the discovery, the world. Scoot back to the slide in the one that was just before it. Let's stay here for a moment, because there's keynotes in here that we need to have. So we've established that it's just these columns, these power columns right up the center from the sacral up to the throat. That the penta, when it's all put together, is a very powerful manifesting generator. So it's busy. That's its definition, even though it's not a human, but it's a manifesting generator. We've established that there are 12 gates that make up the 6 channels, 3 below and 3 above, and this represents that separation. The 6 boxes below would be the 6 gates between the sacral and the G center, and the 6 boxes above would be, again, you put a little check mark. You got a family of 5, start checking off. Well, we got this box, check. We got Susie and Billy in this box, 1, 2. You know what I mean? And then you'd see, oh, we're missing a box. And it's here that we're going to start to see, as you're missing stuff, this is what people think is wrong. And this is the heartbeat of where family analysis pretty much starts. And it's really something that people need to start to surrender to. In my family, when it was just the 3 of us, there was always tension. Yeah. Someone was always leaving. And on so much so that, my family split apart at the end, near the very end. The kids were grown up and everyone just went their separate way quickly. We were missing plenty of gates. We didn't have a vision. There was no gate 2. I didn't have a vision to where all that power would go. We didn't have a gate 8. So we didn't know necessarily what we were going to display in the outside world. What uniqueness were we going to bring? Yeah, we all live in the same type of house, and we all have similar boxes we all live in, but our uniqueness is what color we chose to paint it, the trim we put on it, the little ornaments that will hang in the outside yard to show our uniqueness. We set up our little stone water garden right next to the front porch. Same house, same box, same street full of houses that are similar or uniquely different, whatever it is. But, everyone does something unique. Our display out in the world, we didn't display much of anything. when we, yeah, until we were
I'm laughing because I do that.
Do you have a gate 8 or you have just a gate 1?
I have a gate 1.
Yep. Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. So we had, as I recall, I forget, I think we had a gate 13, but no, I'm pretty sure we have a gate 13, and I forget if we had a gate 33. We had our share of traditions, but it was hard to put them together. I'm pretty sure we were missing a gate 29, the commitment to get out into the world. Every penta must get out into the world. It's one thing to have an inside life, but sooner or later you've got to bring the children out into the world. You've got to go with them. You've got to show them stuff out in the world. So our commitment to getting out in the world was not always there. We would have to wait for a transit that I didn't know, or someone in the office, because I brought my office into the house, may have given that, and then suddenly we're out in the world. You know who got us out in the world? Strangers. Strangers would come into my life. Sometimes it would be a girl that maybe wanted to date me or something, or it would be just a stranger that cared, meaning a person who knew the business or someone who's a good friend. Come on, we're going to go do this thing. Suddenly, everyone's happy to go out and do stuff. I'm dad, and I'm like, come on, guys, I think we got to go do this stuff. Dad, I'm busy. Whatever. Maybe not. That's stupid. Someone comes along and they bring a gate 29. Next thing you know, oh yeah, we're going out and doing this thing in the world. The commitment showed up. Gate 29, the perseverance, this incredible sacral energy to commit itself to the thing out in the world. So now look at the diagnostic capacity. A family's got every gate. They got 4 or 5 kids, whatever. They're a big, medium family, let's say, and they've got every gate but a gate 29. The husband and the wife are arguing with each other on why their commitment to get out into the world with the kids isn't there. How come we don't have soccer practice always getting got to? How come we can't always get the kids up to go to school in the morning? That's your fault. You didn't do. No, it's your fault. You didn't. And suddenly the parents are blaming each other. I'm not saying it's every time, but it'll show up as a tension.
Yeah.
What's the rule when you don't have a gate in your body graph? You're not it. Surrender. You're not it. Surrender.
I want to pull up my mom's chart. She was late for everything.
You pull up mom's chart.
And it was the frustration. That is why I'm either early or right on time, because we were late to everything as kids.
Right. I wish I'd looked over my family beforehand, because I think I'm wrong on one of the gates that I represented. But I only had a family of 3 once the workers went home. There was just the 3 of us. So there was always a form of attention. I could never get the kids to eat at the same time, for instance. And so I stopped trying. I surrendered, and I was like, oh, we're not that family. So I intuitively did the right thing. And I got blamed. And by the way, I ran into conflicts with other families that were like, hey, your kids are off the wall. They don't, at your home, I hear they don't do this, and this. And, I would hear things from administrators and school people about stuff just like that. I would get shamed by people who would come in and be like, the family's supposed to sit down and have dinner together. Yeah, not mine. We have missing gates in our penta. We're a dysfunctional penta. And don't take the word dysfunction as bad. Look at it's just a diagnostic word. That's all. So you can see how each one of these gives us an incredible keynote. And most families are missing a couple. Some families are missing whole channels. Inner flow. Let's look at that one on the left. The home life. So this is gate 15 and gate 5, and gate 15 sets up the frequency of what extremes and what various things and what humanity is going to be allowed in and out of the family. What is the full-on tempo and the breadth of it all? And gate 5 fixes the pattern. Hey, this family has a basic pattern, just like a single cell, and 15 sets up the frequency of that pattern. It's sort of like gate 5 would be just a melody. Da 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 da. That's a melody, right? But we know that as Here Comes the Bride. If I change up the frequency of that and the flow of that, and I give it a samba beat, it changes. And I give it a heavy metal beat, and suddenly it's like Here Comes the Heavy Metal Bride. It's 15 allows the extreme to then come into fixed patterns. So if you're missing the whole channel, the extreme nature of your family flow is all off. Can't keep the house clean. Everyone's in and out at different times. You can't make the family organize on the inside. Other people come to the home and they're like, Jesus, this is a real crap show over here. Everyone's just doing their own thing. Dad tries to yell at the kids. Mom tries to lecture the children. We all got a something. The kids almost are laughing at the parents. That's that snickering in the background because they know it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's just not there. Now they're missing a gate 29 on top of it. There's no commitment to do any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So even if there was a commitment, the flow still isn't there because they're missing that channel. In the example I'm stating out loud, they're missing the ability to create the inner flow that becomes the home life. Mm. The channel on the next one over to the right, the material direction. Gate 14 empowers the demands. Think about it. It's receiving a lot of juice. It's receiving all that downward juice from 46 and 15 down to 5 and 29 downward up through 14. So right up through 14 is this demand, and it's a demand for material, for work. In our world, we know it as for money, but it's not just money. It's resource of any kind.
Yeah, resources.
Just resources. It's
tangible things.
Tangible things, and the stuff that allows you to then go out and display in the world. Mm-hmm. And it's pushing a direction that then turns into a vision. What could be gate 2? So if you've got a penta and it's got gate 2, but no gate, it's got no channel, the whole family feels like there's no material direction and no one's working enough. And we can't even tell what the vision of this family is. And it feels very upsetting. This whole channel is missing inside of a marriage. You're looking at 2 parents that are always talking divorce. Not always. I can't guarantee that. I'm just saying, take 1 million people, 1 million families that might be missing this whole channel. A large majority of them have this problem. And it breaks families up. Put it in a family of 3 where there's already guaranteed tension. Oh, that family's going to split apart. The chances go way down that family survives the first 7 to 10 years without divorcing, falling apart, separating, people sleeping in different rooms, finger pointing arguments, can't see eye to eye because the direction and the money and the material aren't there. We don't even have a vision of what direction this stuff is supposed to go in. Remember, at the bottom of the G center are the gates of the vessel of love. And it's no accident that the 2 arms feeding this direction, coming down the left and the right hand side, down into the sacral, are pouring off of the vessel of love. Love empowers the direction that gate 2's vision wants to see as aesthetically pleasing. You got no gate 2 and it's like, nothing is pleasing. We're not getting anything right. It doesn't look right. I don't even know if I want to display myself on the outside world. I have to fake it all the time. I can't tell the direction we're heading. And if you got no 14, it's no one wants to work. Where's the commitment to work? Where is the work? And it doesn't mean that the family isn't materially successful. There's no gate 14. Everyone thinks they're not working enough. What a head trip. I didn't start working until I was 18, but I'm not going to make that mistake with the kids. We're going to show them at 12 and 14, how to get out and rustle up a job, how important it is, But if they have the whole channel, that'll just happen in the right rhythm. And they won't be freaked out about it. So when you're missing gates in this channel or you're missing the whole channel, everyone thinks there's a problem with the material of the family. Mm-hmm. That's not them. That's the penta. The penta with no soul, no conscience, no mind, no fear of anything, nothing to prove, which is strange, and no pressure, doesn't mind putting us under pressure to go provide this stuff because the penta is a homogenizing thing. Hey, kid, go get the material. We want your family to be successful and drive an aesthetic direction that everyone digs. That looks pretty. That seems colorful. Seems like what is in line with others, but it's also unique. Because this is, again, in the center column is the individual definition, and the outer 2 columns are the collective. Oh, something else about the penta. It's not tribal. There's no tribe inside this penta configuration, not one tribal gate. The penta is not here to support you. It's here to help control you. so that you don't fall apart at the seams. No penta, and we would be falling apart at the seams so easily. So much more so without this organizing force above us. We would be much more like the killer monkeys than we are. When we go up to the top, you can see the keynotes there. If you're missing the channel on the far left, which would be the channel of the alpha, that inner flow in the home sees no future and has no discipline. So you could have a perfectly inner flow of the home and have the whole inner flow of the home working just right, and things are relatively clean, and the house generally has an order and a rhythm and a flow that you can count on. But you're missing the channel above it, 7 to 31. So suddenly you can't discipline your family. There's no real planning as to what the family's going to display looking into the future. And you're a little bit embarrassed about what is it you don't know that you're getting accomplished in the fact that you can't really discipline your kids. And by the way, if it's not in the family, it's the parents that aren't disciplined either.
Yeah.
And then what are they getting from the rest of the pentas at the school, at their job, in their neighborhood, walking through the park? What are they getting? Well, if you just apply a little discipline to the thing and, make a checklist and get to it in the morning, and you'll see you'll be fine. No, they won't. They'll do a thing or two on a checklist if they even make the stupid checklist. You know what I mean? And then they won't get any of it done. And then what happens? They feel like crap. I'm not disciplined enough. We're not pushing a direction into the future. We can't tell if we're even moving in the right direction, moving into the future. I feel stuck. It's your fault. Oh, no, it's your fault. I go to work every day. You're supposed to. Well, I have to deal with these kids all the time, and they're not disciplined, and you won't back me up with the discipline. It's like, well, there's the argument between mom and dad. That's not their argument. If you're missing this channel, there's not a lot of discipline. You're the family without a lot of discipline. Guess what? That's great. Honor the strategy, the authority, and the type of the child. Honor your strategy and authority, and you'll find you don't care. Your uniqueness is displayed in your lack of discipline. Big flipping deal. I know for a fact this was part us. And so, okay. And I remember surrendering to the fact that I was like, hey, I don't like to discipline things. I didn't even want to discipline. I've got nothing in this channel. I don't want to discipline anything. Mm-hmm. If I can help it, it's like, whatever, but I'll go with the flow. And when the future suddenly needs a change, I guess I'll change. I'll handle the extreme somehow or other, but not because I discipline things. And so if you're missing this gates or this channel, knock off the attempt to discipline your children in a draconian old way, corporal punishment, timeouts, you better do this or else. And you save the discipline for the great big things that actually need it. Can I tell you a short story about the one discipline I did do that worked just fine?
Sure. Yeah,
it was with my kids, and they were both failing school. They went through a period where they didn't care. And finally, the teachers were like, damn, we got a problem, da-da-da. I got brought in over and over again, and boom, it occurred to me in a mutative moment. They're in love with their cell phones. It was brand new to cell phones. They had just come on. They were in love with their technology. And I thought that was cute. At the time, I didn't realize how dangerous it was at the time, Jen. This was 15 years ago now, 18 even. I just remember saying, okay, I set a policy, and the policy, this was my discipline. The policy was just no D's. You can't get a D on your next formal report card. If they publish a D, you're going to be without your phone, and I'm going to mercilessly rip all the technology out of your life, period. Mercilessly. I'm going to have my tech guy shut it off. I'm going to shut down your IP. You'll have a phone on the wall. That's it. The cord attached to it, by the way. That's what you got.
Like back in the old day when we had to pull the cord around the.
And I'm capping the other outlets to a phone. So Desiree, you, as clever as Soraya are, don't figure out how to run a hidden wire all the way up to your room so you have a separate phone. Not going to happen. I'm going to plug, just merciless, and I'm going to enjoy it. It's going to be good. And you'll like it too. You'll figure out how to like it. I warned you, just no D's. I was so proud of myself. I went and told the school administrators, some of their teachers, and people around. I shared it with everyone. Everyone frowned at me. Just no D's. What kind of discipline is that? Just no D's? I don't know how to. Guess what happened, Jen? In not trying to discipline them in that way, just no D's forced A's and B's out of both children. Because as soon as they opened the book, their natural selves got curious, and the topics and the subjects they wanted to do well in, they excelled. 2 generators, mastery level by level in response to the subject material. Boom. They did end up coming back with a D that ended up getting them remove their phones. They just handed their phones in. I remember they surrendered. So here's the phone, Dad. They both handed them in. Guess what they got a D in? Gym. Gym. All they had to do was attend.
Yeah, right. Well, I failed Jim. So
all they had to do was attend. Longmeadow was very forgiving. If you just attended and weren't any good at any of the stuff or didn't want to do, just attend, at least pass without a D. They handed in their phones, and then what I predicted happened. They would come negotiating like crisis hostages, negotiating with their captors for their own release. So they came and they negotiated, and I went along with it, and everything was fine thereafter. It was perfect. Most families won't discipline that way.
Yeah.
They nope, you do what the father says, we're going to smack you across the face. That's in some families. That's the discipline, right? Or parents beating their children to one degree or in corporal punishment. It wasn't that long ago that it was a thing, and it still is a thing. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with it per se. That's going to be a way inside of a family penta. I'm not for beating your children. Trust me. But I mean, we live in a world where we can die. So sometimes corporal punishment comes in to set something in spades you can't do. Moving to the right, and we'll just finish up with these last couple things so people can see it. This is the most unique one. This 1 and this 8, it's all in the present. So the demonstration, our unique demonstration, and in the present, what is our family's creative, unique way? And this is what gets displayed the most. This is the true demonstration on the outside world. We've got the whole family together. We came out and we all wear bow ties. That's our uniqueness. Something shows up. For my kids, their display of their uniqueness was they were the first one with black fingernails and black clothes, and they're not, grunge school. Longmeadow is the opposite of grunge. And I got plenty of notes sent home from school, and I thought it was hilarious. I was like, aha, we're free. It's America. We'll do what we want. And they were like, you're moving against our penta values. Well, we're a dysfunctional penta. What did you expect? My family, the 3 of us, we were missing probably 4 or 5 of these gates. I mean, we were just broken all over the place. We were busted up, man. We were raggedy ass old bum trying to make it to the restroom, but when you have the channel, there you are. You're all at the beach together. You all have the same sunscreen on. You're all, but you got a different volleyball than everyone else, and you brought extras so other people could play with it, and there could be a nice demonstration of the family at the beach with all the right stuff. And your uniqueness came out because you had the cooler with the special vegan food that you chose for your home, and that's different from everyone else on the beach. And you're different because you showed up in different bathing suits or whatever. You had your uniqueness, right? That's what 1 and 8 does. The creative way is displayed. The penta forces us to display that in the world. Forces us. And it forces us to feel like crap if you're not displaying yourself out in the world. You're missing a gate 8 or a gate 1, or you're missing the whole channel. You don't display the whole family out in the world. And again, more just like with the commitment below, the husband and wife start fighting with each other. We don't get out in the world. You know what I mean? They can barely make it to grandma's house on the most important day, and they're still running late. Because that creative demonstration of bringing your uniqueness happily out into the world in a very homogenized way, family homogenized, not societal, but family and societal homogenized way. And everyone's at mom's house with their prettiest gear on, and they're all spiffed up, and no one's acting out. Okay, that's the functioning penta. You got a missing penta. Everyone, all these gates are missing. Boom, everyone's acting out. We're showing up at different times at grandma's house. Grandma learns to deal with that and say, that's okay. I love you anyways. Everyone finally gets there for dinner. And the only time we're together is at the dinner table. And that's because that's where the food is, and we're all hungry by then. So, the homogenizing force still finds its way to work is the thing. It still finds its way. You can't quite just leave the dinner table too easily. unless you're a child and you got wicked cool parents. And then the last channel on, so you can see as I start to look at a family, I promise you, families out there watching this, you're missing some of these gates. It'll be very few of you that have the whole thing filled in. And there's nothing wrong with missing a gate or missing several gates or a channel. It's where you need to surrender. It's where you need to give up trying to be it, because you're going to hurt everyone. You're going to extra homogenize them. When you try to be what you're not, you truly homogenize the crap out of them. When you allow the penta to just take you away, okay, we're going to the beach today, I didn't really feel like it, but I guess we are. And once you get there, you have fun. It's fine. Everything's good, whatever. And suddenly you're enjoying yourself. And even I will be in the water and I'll be, now it's great. Psyched I'm there. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like doing anything, but I'm psyched I'm there because the penta drove us there. We have to display our uniqueness. And on the far right, again, this is just the continuity of the family, the traditions. You got nothing in this channel, you don't set up traditions. You got stuff in this channel, you are able to keep the secrets and set up traditions. You got no gate 13, no one's willing to tell anyone else their secrets. You got a family where everyone's pissed about it. What's your secret? What are you not telling me? Got no gate 13, give it up. Your kids are going to keep secrets from you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Leave it alone. The ones that are important, you'll figure out a way to know what was important. You know how I dealt with this in my house? I got a loud car. So whatever was secret, they always heard Dad coming home because I had a muscle car. They had a ton. They could hear me down the block. They could hear me rounding the corner. They could hear me parking. Plenty of time. Snuff it out. Open the window. Spray the Lysol. Wash your hands. Whatever it is you're going to do that you need to hide from me, hide it. You know what I mean? If I don't know and it's not hurting you per se that I can't tell, I didn't need to know. What a beautiful adaptation to me not having a gate 13 in my body graph. Think of how shitty I could have felt because I think I need to know. And all the other parents are, you better put some spy gear in there, tap their phone, put the parental controls on all the things so you can know all the things that you, I probably should have done the parental controls thing. Don't get me wrong.
Well, nowadays,
but I didn't
you
know
have to go to this extent, like family secrets. Again, depending on the homogenization of the penta.
Let's go back full screen, Jen. We don't need to see this anymore.
What's going on, then that does play a part. But very, very informative information, Dan.
Right. I love my lack of a gate 13. And my solutions for all my lack of the gates, except for one, I forget what one of them I did horribly on. It was something to do with the discipline. I remember there was something about the internal discipline that I turned into a tyrant one too many times, and I was awful. And I was awful to my own children, and I'm certain they still hold certain grudges in this way against me. But back to the secrets, I wasn't allowed to know most of their secrets. When it got wicked dire, we knew the secret. I knew the secret. We went and pressed them for it, and almost always there was someone from my work that was part of the pressing.
You brought in someone else.
Someone else would come in and in combination with others, suddenly we would press them. It would be a teacher, and the kid would come in, and my child would come in, and we would talk to them together. So again, the penta still worked even when it wasn't working. We imported other penta configurations when we needed to know the secrets, and sometimes we needed to know. It's true, and because it was a danger to them, we did need to know, and it showed up. But the rest of the time, I was actually content not knowing what the secrets were. You know what I wasn't content was? My missing gate 33, the inability to not pass on traditions and keep the family records. So I was always desperately grabbing photographs of everything. I became the person that just snapped a photo no matter where I was. And
that's interesting on that gate, because I used to be that way. With my son, I still have certain information,
felt like
but
you're
I would
missing it,
save
right? You're missing
everything.
out. Yes.
But you know what I did a couple of years ago when I started practicing minimalism? I got rid of it all because it's materialistic stuff that it doesn't matter.
Right.
I had boxes and tubs of all this crap of so and so gave me this card on whatever day.
Right. Yes.
Brought up a memory. Like my
Right.
family is big into that. Don't throw away that dish. Your grandmother used it back in the day to make banana
love-
pudding that we never eat anymore.
And we love that stuff, Jennifer. Right.
So, well, I mean, what I do now is I try to keep the traditions that really provide a lot of value and encouragement, not holding on to the materialistic things. But yes,
Right.
I can see that.
And you hold on to, and so the traditions you minimalize down to the ones you can manage, because you
Correct.
don't have the definition inside of, you don't have that as defined. Yeah, right, exactly. And for me, it just turned into, I have a phone, you know what? I have infinite memory practically. I'm a snap. I would take pictures of everything. I'd take pictures of people coming and going. I would take pictures of Desiree in her first new car. I'd be like, there's a car coming. There's the car halfway out the driveway. There's the car moving. There's the car's license plate. No one ever visited the house without me taking pictures of their license plates. You know what I mean? Ever, for the kids, or me taking a picture of them, or their driver's license. That's how we found Desi when she ran away. I ended up having snapped a picture of that person's driver's license, told me right where he lived. It's funny. Anyways, so, but I was desperate to take the pictures. And because I had nothing in that channel, I never organized them. I never put them together. When you got a full working penta like we did in my house growing up, my mother organized everything until it got to be too much, and she did stop. But she was the record keeper. She had that gate 33 in her body graph. She did the thing, and I didn't know that was how that worked out. I thought that was woman's work, was the homogenizing. Dad went to work, mom did the thing, da 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 da. I grew up in the 60s and 70s. That's what 70s really, and that's what it was to me. It appeared to be the stereotype. No, I mean, it turned out to be sort of that, but that stereotype would have still worked out even if only Dad had it.
Right.
He would have been the one that came home and be like, oh, honey, I got a good start on putting all these things together. And mom would have picked up and done a creative moment and finished up maybe or something. So anyways, that you can see how this organizing pentaforce is so important over us. We're choiceless. We're in it. Where as soon as there's 3 or more people, and that, come get your family read. Come get your family read. Find out the stuff that you're allowing to drive you to divorce, maybe, or to bring tension into where you can't tell if you're happy, or you like it already enough, but you can tell there's these things that just nag at you, and you love to have greater awareness and knowledge as to what to do about it all. We need to read you. We need to read, your husband or wife. We need to read the children individually, and then we put them together in the penta, and we start to recognize where their strengths and weaknesses are, so you can stop beating everyone up, including yourself, the most. That's
well said.
Yeah. Hey, I did that while I was looking into the camera. Maybe we can clip that and make it be an ad.
Maybe.
Bye.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Dan, that was very informative. I will definitely be checking out the house's penta at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly what Dan said, if you haven't gotten your session or your family read, get in here and get your session booked.
We do it all, baby. We do it all.
So happy Mother's Day to you ladies out there, you moms out there. We hope everyone has a beautiful and blessed day. And with that said, we will see you guys on Wednesday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.